What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Krusty Christie. The best name of any YouTube channel. Just makes me happy, makes me smile. Krusty Christie. Anyways, in this video we got another true crime video. I love my true crime. If you've been a subscriber long enough, you know that. In this video, the disappearance of Trudie Adams. Let's get to it.
Sydney, Australia is a vibrant city known for its stunning harbour, iconic landmarks and rich cultural diversity. Nestled along the southeastern coast, Sydney offers a unique blend of natural beauty and urban sophistication, with the sparkling Sydney Harbour at its heart, showcasing the world-famous Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. As Australia's largest and oldest city, Sydney boasts a fascinating history, from its indigenous heritage to its colonial beginnings and growth into a bustling metropolis. Beyond the cityscape, Sydney is surrounded by stunning beaches, lush national parks and serene waterways, making it a paradise for outdoor enthusiasts. From exploring the bustling markets of the Rocks to enjoying the surf at Bondi Beach, Sydney offers an unforgettable experience with a warm, cosmopolitan vibe. Trudie Jeanette Adams was born on the 19th of September 1959 to Charles and Connie Adams. Trudie grew up in the Northern Beaches district of Sydney, known to locals as the, quote, Inner Peninsula, due to the fact the place is noticeably very different when compared to the rest of the city. The area stretches southward to the entrance of Port Jackson in Sydney Harbour, westward to Middle Harbour, and northward to the mouth of Broken Bay. By 1978, Trudie was training to become a secretary and dreamed of travelling the world. She was also excited about planning for an August trip to Bali with her friends. It was the 24th of June 1978, and 18-year-old Trudie prepared to attend a party at the Newport Surf Lifesaving Club, located approximately 2 kilometres north of the town of Newport. She requested that her mother, Connie, stay up until she returned home that night. However, as the clock chimed in the 25th of June, Trudie was nowhere to be seen. Her family subsequently reported her as missing to the Mona Vale police. Police began their investigation into the 18-year-old's disappearance. Speaking with Trudie's ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Stephen Norris, it was apparent that he was the last person to see her alive. At the party, the former couple had engaged in a heated argument. Trudie then told Norris that she was going to hitchhike home to her parents' house, which was just a 5-minute drive away. This was not an uncommon occurrence, and many people in the area hitchhiked often.
Not just in Australia, but everyone in America, everyone hitchhike. If you see someone hitchhiking nowadays, it's like, pull over and tell them, stop hitchhiking. Back then, things were more loosey-goosey. People leave their, doors unlocked when they went to bed, windows open. It was more of a trusting time. But not saying like anyone, back in the 70s or 80s didn't get kidnapped and murdered, because they did. But not that much, but still, I mean, hitchhiking nowadays, if I see someone hitchhiking, it's like, God, please watch over them.
Shortly after midnight, at approximately 12:40 a.m., Stephen Norris witnessed Trudie Adams going into a van on Barrenjoey Road in Newport. Police originally thought that Trudie had entered a green combi van. However, Norris insisted that the vehicle was in fact a light-coloured 1977 Holden delivery van. This would be the last time anybody saw Trudie Adams alive.
Now, was it just a boyfriend who seen this? Or did he make this whole thing up? That's what I want to know.
Suspicion initially fell on Stephen Norris, having not been only her former boyfriend, but also having admitted that the pair had had an argument that night. Police questioned Norris and subsequently cleared him of having had any involvement in Trudie's vanishing. Police then began investigating the possibility that the drug scene had something to do with.
How could they clear him? You know, another thing back then, I mean, some detectives were more like, you know, okay, you've seen her, you know, get in this van and drive off. Okay, you check out. Was this boyfriend the only one at this party who's, after they got into his argument, she said, I'm gonna go hitchhike, and then he said that he saw her get into a van and drive off? Was he the only one that saw this? I guess I'll take the detective's word for it and trust the boyfriend.
Her disappearance. A 20,000 Australian dollar reward was offered by the New South Wales government
Did they say
for anyone who had
the drug
Stephen
trade?
Norris, having not been only her former boyfriend, but also having admitted that the pair had had an argument that night. Police questioned Norris and subsequently cleared him of having had any involvement in Trudie's vanishing. Police then began investigating the possibility that the drug scene had something to do with her disappearance.
The drug scene? What? See, people always want to say, now are they talking about like she was doing drugs and she left with a drug? I mean, drug dealers, they concentrate on just one thing, making money selling drugs. They're not into kidnapping 18-year-old girls who just got into an argument with their boyfriend.
A 20,000 Australian dollar reward was offered by the New South Wales government for anyone who had any information regarding Trudie's whereabouts. The reward was then increased to $50,000. In a chilling twist in the tale, Connie Adams received a, quote, haunting phone call 5 days after her daughter's disappearance. The male voice on the line.
What's up?
Hi.
There's too many YouTube ads. I swear, there's just too many.
Stated, quote, Trudie is dead. You will find her all 5 days after her daughter's disappearance. The male voice on the line stated, quote, Trudie is dead. You will find her about halfway up Mona Vale Road. It was an accident. An exact copy of this call was also made to the Mona Vale Police Department. Despite extensive searches in and around the area over a span of 400 square kilometres, no trace of Trudie was found. Police also searched in the thick bushland of Ku-ring-gai Chase National Park after Trudie's disappearance. In the aftermath, several young women reported incidents of abduction and violent sexual assault within the same national park. These attacks, involving victims between the ages of 14 and 20, took place between 1971 and 1978. The Australian Women's Weekly reported in a hitchhiking article in their 16th of August 1978 issue, quote, "Police have learned of 2 men who have abducted, assaulted and raped 9 young women in the area after offering them lifts home since last October. The men search their victim's handbag for her name and address. Then, threatening her with a gun, they drive her home. They say they know where she lives, who she is, and threaten reprisals against her and her family if she reports them to the police." The article also stated that the traumas these women and girls experienced, quote, "are too humiliating to be printed." Detectives have since identified strong connections between these assaults and the case of Trudie's disappearance. The case sadly went cold, and the mystery caller was never identified. The case was then reopened in 1992 as police took a look at the green combi van with a set of fresh eyes. However, unfortunately, nothing notable came from this. Detective Superintendent Beresford of Mona Vale Police stated in 2008, following the reward having been increased to 250,000 Australian dollars, quote, "It is our belief she was kidnapped by 2 males and murdered." He further commented, quote, "As a result of our inquiries, we believe Trudie's abduction was sexually motivated. Furthermore, we suspect there are more victims of these 2 sexual predators who have not previously come forward to police. Support is available to these women, who we are encouraging to contact Strike Force Keldy detectives. Their information, despite the passage of time, might be crucial to helping us charge those responsible in this case." In 2009, one of the individuals who committed
So, when she left her boyfriend because after the argument at that party, and he saw her get into a vehicle, it just happened to be one of these 2 kidnapping rapists, or both. I'm not saying the boyfriend did it, but I'm not saying he didn't do it. I mean, what are the odds? You know, you get into a fight with your girlfriend, she storms out and hitchhikes, and the boyfriend sees her, get in the vehicle, and it happens to be two rapists who have done this to other women. I mean, the odds, unless these 2 were parked on the side of the road somewhere, like close to a party, waiting for a girl to leave in her car, or leave and hope they walked, hitchhiked or something. But we got one, let's go. I don't know.
The sexual assaults on the women and girls between 1971 and 1978 Force Keldy detectives. Their information, despite the passage of time, might be crucial to helping us charge those responsible in this case. In 2009, one of the individuals who committed the sexual assaults on the women and girls between 1971 and 1978 was publicly identified as Neville Bryan Tween, also known as John Anderson. He was considered the prime suspect in the Trudie Adams case and was a convicted sex offender and drug dealer who was the suspect for at least 14.
This is heavy. It's warm. Loads of pockets. I'm impressed with it. This is the best skin.
Stop trying to be funny.
In 2018, Trudie's disappearance became the subject of a 3-part documentary, Barrenjoey Road, and furthermore, ABC's Unravel podcast. Journalist Ruby Jones and former Today Tonight host Neil Mercer discuss the case in detail and, during their investigations, uncover events from the seedy underworld of Sydney in the 1970s. Ruby stated that she and fellow host Neil were given crucial information about the case, which hadn't been made public before. They theorised that Trudie had somehow become involved in the drug world, possibly smuggling drugs between Sydney and Bali, and that her disappearance was due to a drug run gone wrong. Ruby...
Are you effing kidding me? This was a... She was at a party, told her mom to wait up for her, but she was at a party, got into an argument with her boyfriend, hitchhiked, and some random, just a vehicle picked her up. Oh my god. And they're saying they think she was in the drug trade.
Information about the case, which hadn't been made public before. They theorised that Trudie had somehow become involved in the drug world, possibly smuggling drugs between Sydney and Bali, and that her disappearance was due to a drug run gone wrong. Ruby Jones stated to New Idea, quote, "There was a dark side to the northern beaches at the time. There was a drug trade going on, where people were bringing drugs back through Bali." Trudie's friends, Leanne Weir and Anita Starkey, however, disagree with this theory and do not believe she
looks like a sweetheart. I'm not saying looks can be deceiving, but this was just she wanted to be a secretary, she wanted to travel the world. I mean,
he was involved in the drug trade. Looking at, however, disagree with this theory. Friends, Leanne Weir and Anita Starkey, however, disagree with this theory and do not believe she was involved in the drug trade. Looking at the prime suspect, Neville Tween, it became apparent in police records that he had been picked out of a lineup by several of his victims. However, for reasons unknown, he was never questioned about the assaults or the disappearance of Trudie. At the time of the Unravel podcast's recording, Tween was serving an 18-year sentence behind bars for having sexually assaulted a young man who was selling drugs. When he was booked into jail, he was found with fake beards, guns and several disguises. They collected a voice recording of Tween, who had a distinctive speech impediment, noted by several of the victims. Ruby and Neil hope that by publishing the recording, more people will come forward with information. Ruby spoke on the podcast with Trudie's ex-boyfriend, Stephen Norris, who explained that Connie had told police when she reported her daughter missing that he had seen her get into a green combi. However, he clarified that this information was incorrect and she had in fact entered a lightly coloured 1977 Holden delivery van. Ruby said of Norris, quote, "As soon as we met him, I trusted him. I felt he was really honest with us." In Ruby and Neil's documentary, Barrenjoey Road, it was found that the main suspect, Neville Tween, had a, quote, "unholy and disturbingly close relationship with Mark Standen, a high-ranking and strongly influential figure in the police." According to Ruby Jones, Standen was the, quote, most senior and corrupt cops in the country. Tween served as a paid informant for Standen during his tenure at...
This Neville guy, I want to know if any of the other victims, because there had to have been at least other ones that he... It's said that he would, kidnap them, rape them, get their, take their IDs, see where they live, and say, if you say anything to, I know where you live, I'll kill you and your parents. He had to have killed at least one of these girls. Did any of the other girls who went missing ever get phone calls from a guy saying you'll find her here in this park? I think she just...
at the National Crime Authority and later the Crime Commission, both agencies dedicated to investigating serious organised crime. It was also thought that Tween and Standen went on holidays together to the coast, and the latter was found to have been arrested for conspiring to illegally bring 300 kilograms of pseudoephedrine into the country. He was sentenced to 22 years in prison and argued in a handwritten letter sent to the Unravel podcast, quote, "There was nothing corrupt about my relationship with Anderson." He continued, quote, "I only saw him perhaps..."
Congress created a little-known way for people to build generational wealth, tax-free, with life insurance.
Slavery?
The legislation is called
like your family probably did?
3 to 8 times per year, if that. The occasional dog walking or shopping centre encounters were exactly that.
What's this got to do with Trudie Adams?
Unplanned encounters.
What's this got to do with Trudie
I suspect that you
Adams?
have imagined a far closer relationship, and if so, you are mistaken. I'm disappointed that you are trying to sensationalise my dealings with Anderson. It is misguided and dishonourable, especially given that I responded to all your questions in good faith and in detail.
A corrupt cop.
An underworld figure from Sydney's northern beaches, known as Guido, claimed that Trudie's body was disposed of at a place called Christmas Tree Hill. The ABC learned that this site was not part of the extensive 1978 search for Trudie's remains. New South Wales Police informed the ABC that both land and water searches have been carried out over the years in multiple locations within Ku-ring-gai Chase National Park and nearby areas. The Barrenjoey Road team learned that Guido, now deceased, once worked at a Brookvale smash repairs shop in Brookvale, northern Sydney, and was reportedly involved in the disposal of bodies. Gary Batt, a convicted criminal and close associate of Neville Tween, was also employed at the smash repair shop in Brookvale. This new lead was passed on to the cold case team. Reportedly, Tween, Batt and Guido are now all deceased. Sadly, Trudie's mother, Connie, passed away 11 years after her daughter's vanishing, never knowing what happened to her. At a 2011 inquest into Trudie's disappearance, it was stated by her father, Charles, that Connie Adams died of, quote, a broken heart. The coroner concluded that Trudie Adams likely passed away due to, quote, homicide or misadventure. Over 45 years have passed since Trudie disappeared, and her loved ones continue to hold on to the hope that one day answers will be found. If you have any information regarding...
This is a case that's never going to be solved, sadly. There are cases like that. I don't believe that Neville guy had anything to do with it. If it's true that what the boyfriend says, that she hitchhiked, got into whatever vehicle. He said one, and then years later said no, it was this type of vehicle. She just was taken somewhere, raped, and then murdered, and I don't know, buried, thrown into the lake or the ocean. I think that's all it is. I mean, not all it is. I mean, that's what it is. That Neville guy, I don't think he had anything to do with it. There's nothing that stands out. There's nothing that even connects. And that podcast, people did a 3-thing episode saying that they think she was involved in the drug trade. What the F? What the F? I would be so pissed. Her friend says, no way. She would never have done that or do that. Yeah. Anyways, what do you think? I just think it's another case of hitchhiking gone wrong, sadly. If the boyfriend was, I want to know if anyone else seen her get into a vehicle. Doesn't sound like it. I would like to know what happened that night with, like, the boyfriend. Did people see him leave at a certain time, be gone for a long period of time? Did the police ever interview anyone at the party? Or was it just the boyfriend? Oh, I saw her, we got into an argument, and she said, I'm gonna go hitchhike, and she got into a vehicle and she left. No, I wouldn't. I would talk to some of the people at that party. You know what times? I don't know what his name was. I don't think they said. You know what time he left? You know, did he stay over? Was he drunk? Was he gone for a long period of time and came back? They didn't do any of that. Stupid detectives, man. Doesn't matter what decade. This was Australia, so they probably got worse detectives than in America. You know what? I don't think that's possible. So, yeah, what do you think? I just told you mine. Hitchhiking gone wrong. Rest in peace, Trudie Jones. Anyways, like always and forever, take care, be safe, peace everyone. Don't hitchhike either. Never ever hitchhike.